You guys are going to be thrilled by this, but I have practice at 12:30, so my normal soliloquy will be cut short and be a little briefer. But yes, Sprints, it's a big day for us and big weekend. The interesting, we have a long season. I mean, I heard BB talking a little bit about the season, and I'm not sure that this makes even some of the more absurd ironies we have here even worse. But it's a 270-day season usually from our first practice to the last. That's a long time. But today is 27 days from the end of the season. Meanwhile, we're in the last 10%, which is if you have to be fast, you got to be fast now. So you didn't necessarily see that in this morning's practice. We're in finals, and it's a Monday morning. But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen now. If it's not, it's not. So we've been running about in third gear. We have 5 speed, but we got to hit fourth and fifth. Let's hope we can do that. We'll see. See, I told you it'd be brief. All right, questions?
All right, brief questions then.
Can they hit the fifth gear?
I don't know. When I was a kid, I liked track and field a lot. I don't know, maybe because I was a slow runner, but it was a more prominent thing back in the 60s and 70s. And we had two kids at my high school who went on to be D1 and run on the national team, and we're both. Our high school record for the 2 mile was under 9 minutes. It was 8:58, and that's in the 70s. And I think 4:06 was the mile record. And so track's a good example of a race sport like ours. Like you see it in football, in other words, international soccer. Sometimes these teams that aren't even close to like a top Premier League team will win in one of these league cups that they have, like the FA Cup or the League Cup. You just don't see that in a race sport. The NCAA record for the 1500 is 335.01, and if you're a 350 runner, you don't go 335 unless it's a tailwind straight and downhill. And it's very difficult. Rowing has one advantage over that, I would say, that you have the collective magic that can happen. But nonetheless, your bandwidth is very tight of what you can do. And if I've seen what I've seen so far, and both BB and I appreciate the fact that we've seen magic happen, but you can't rely on it. Because again, as I said before, as a Catholic myself, I don't want to have to just rely on doing this. That's an added bonus, and sometimes it may work, but I don't want it to be my go-to game plan. So the guys that I have are perfectly capable of being at least fourth gear, maybe more. There's no doubt in my mind. We're not strong relative to our competition. You heard from BB just why, for example, and the international component. And in our last race against Northeastern, of all the races we had, was the only one that we lost by. We weren't supposed to do anything, but the margin was more than I thought because they tried to outmuscle them. That's not a good strategy for us. We have to be as slick as we possibly can, which is not something I talk about very often because you're always trying to be in incredible condition because it's painful and uncomfortable, and really everything's telling you to stop. And that's an important impediment to either get by or be able to tolerate. So you don't even bother with, hey, we got to relax, because they read relax means go easy. Go easy, you might as well just wave goodbye and not even start. But we're to the point we need to focus every single stroke on how we row. You might think we do that all the time, but it's shocking how little we do it because we're trying to develop the person, make them as hard as we can. But we're to that point. It's like, all right, we've done it. We've shown what we've got. Each one of you has a pint of water, and they have a quart. But we want to pour water at close to the same rate and have our bottles empty at the same time. So don't just shake it and pour it out because it's not going to work. I think you understood that answer. Maybe not. All right, another question?
You're talking about your gears. If you look over year here, it seems like when you watch this year, you're getting closer to that point where you're back where you want to be.
Yeah. I talked about it before, that I have a whole boathouse of willing, just like BB does, and but it's finding the able ones, the ones that have the extraordinary talent. You cannot do it without superstars. And superstars could be developed here, they might come from somewhere else, but you're always hoping that inherent in somebody. But generally, if you start somewhere, you'll improve at a given rate over those 4 years. So you're looking especially for freshmen who start at a much higher place because they probably have further to go. And I don't know that we have any like that. But every single person appears, and this isn't just wishful thinking, I didn't have to do this to make this comment. They're all in, there's no doubt, which is such a powerful thing. That right there gives you a chance always in everything. If they're, as I heard BB, I didn't hear it all because I was messing around with my phone. Who does that anymore? But just about, what you're focusing on, what's important. And they've started focusing on themselves, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. Forget about everybody else. It's amazing how poorly you can row and how you can perform if you think at all about who you're racing. It's just irrelevant when you've got a lot of improvement to do. So, anyway, good question. Do we have another good question? Even one more? Or I'm going to just make stuff up as I go along.
Might as well talk about this weekend and Sunday, the Eastern Sprints. I don't know if you can handicap the field or where you guys fit in.
Yeah, I liked our heat better when it's 15 or 16. I forget. Each year is a little different. How many only 2 go from the heats directly to the grand final. And I liked when we were seated 8th, it was better than 9th, I felt, which would kind of make sense, but not always. And just got to row our race. That sounds completely basic, coach speak, but that's it, and we'll be okay. I have heard that the Eastern Sprints, it may break up like the women has and have a Ivy League championship and then a Sprints championship. So this might be the last year that it's in that format. It has no bearing on how we perform, but we'll just boom. But we're still in the middle of, especially with the after Northeastern, we made one switch, and we're still trying to figure it out in the lower boats, exactly who's who. But if you're going to call yourself a development program, which we really are, not that the other teams don't develop either, that's silly, but usually their development is trying to find a lineup that they can put their under 23 medalists in. That's a different type of developing than someone who literally may be a completely different guy in 1 month. It's similar to football here, right? They come in and herald, and next thing you know, guys an All-American and playing in pro football. So we talk about it, so we do it all the time. And we're always willing to make a switch if we think it's better. Sometimes you make a switch because you have no better ideas. And I'm not sure if the athletes get that, or maybe they think we never have a better idea. I don't know. But the 1 seems to be pretty solid, and the 2 seems to be pretty solid. It's the lower boats. And while they're not the tip of the spear, they're still important. And you want them because from that, ideally, springs occasionally the elite guys that make all the difference. It's incredible how little it takes to make you from being pretty good to great. But that little is rare. It's only 1 or 2 people. It's hardly anything. And we've had a few people here that just absolutely refuse to ever lose. And if they lost, it was a fluke. No matter if that's true or not, that's the way they believed. Where for quite a few years here, we had exactly opposite. They thought winning was a fluke. And that's not a good place to be. We're not there now. These guys are ready and willing. They just have to actually do it.